back to the DGD podcast. As always, Juan, pleasure to have you on the show, my man.
Yes, sir. I'm in the parking lot of Alumni Hall right now. So, hey guys, if
Ooh,
you are in the area, go by and get you some great Georgia football gear, or any sport for that matter. But yeah, in the parking lot of Alumni Hall.
I'm telling you right now, obviously this is a great time to plug the sponsor here. They just announced that today they have the new Air Pegasus, the Georgia shoes, and that is an excellent time to do it. It's only in store, by the way.
All right.
Keep that in mind. Yeah, it's from what I for Alumni Hall I was seeing. So looking at that right there though, um, I'm looking at it in a situation where, right, listen, those things are nice. Those things are nice. So check them out at alumnihall.com or go in store like Juan probably just did and get you some nice licensed Georgia apparel. Um, Juan, I'm going to let you recap here. Let you preview this South Carolina game Saturday. Um, yeah, just what do you expect will happen? And I guess maybe I want to get your opinion here. Maybe Koby can add something too from a player's perspective. What is it like playing at Willie B?
Well, first off, what I expect is a challenge for our secondary. South Carolina has some really, really good receivers. Spencer Rattler is a great quarterback. I do expect a challenge, but again, we're going to step up to the challenge. I believe that we're going to shut them down. Playing in Columbia, it's a tough place to play. Koby will tell you. They come out there with that 2001 Space Odyssey, and the atmosphere is electric, and it doesn't matter what their record is. They come out there, they scream and yell, and they're ready to play. However, I just think it'll be one of those things that where, again, initially, just to make sure that we just get that adjustment. The crowd is going to be a factor, and then all of a sudden, Georgia, here we go. You're either a lead or you're not.
The crowd's a factor until you're up 14-0, and then all of a sudden is completely different. But I agree. It'll be a packed house at noon. Ready.
Juan, what your first touchdown pass or touchdown reception came against South Carolina? So that's
it was, and it was a very
there.
close game too. It was we ended up winning 24-21. We had Eric Zier. We had Terrell Davis, we had Hines Ward, we had Robert Edwards, we had a star-studded group, and so we were able to pull that out. But yeah, that was my first touchdown on a curl route, and everything was fun and great until they jumped on me and I got my face mashed into the bushes with those prickly things going all in my face. So, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
There you go. Guys, actually, let's do this. Juan, do you have before we start into our picks, which I think everybody's excited for this, do you have a player of the game or a bold prediction or both?
As far as a player of the game, I'm going to look at Brock Bowers. I think he's been just kind of held a little bit too long. So it's going to be his time to come out, and it's going to be his time to shine. And as far as a bold prediction, I really think that we are going to beat the brakes off of them. So if you're a betting person, I would just go ahead and take Georgia and the points, hands down. I mean, that's my bold prediction.
All right, let's do this. Let's jump into the DGD podcast week 3 slate of picks. Is everybody ready for this? I think so. First things first. Let's bring up the standings through 2 weeks, right? The Brigade went 6-4 in week 2, standing at 15-5 through 2 weeks, 75% hit rate on the picks. Koby 6-4 last week as well, 12-8 overall with 60% hit rate. Juan went 7-3, led last week, evened out with the Brigade at 15-5 with another 75%, and basically, I just mimicked Koby. Went 6-4, 12-8, 60%. First game we're going to break down first, though, is Michigan State traveling to Washington. I think it'll be a very interesting situation, to be honest with you. Guys, who do you got?
I'll let you go first, Koby.
All right. I went Michigan State here. Mel Tucker He signed a big contract extension this offseason, a lot of money, a lot of pressure on him. But these are the games that he has to win in order to prove that he's worth all that money they're paying him up there. I mean, I don't think Washington has the best team like they have in the past, but at the end of the day, you got to win on the road. It'll be a hostile environment for them, but got to pull it out.
Juan, what say you, sir?
Yeah, Washington, they've improved from last year. They've got a better quarterback. It is a hostile environment. If anybody's ever gone to UW and their stadium's right there on the water, the crowd, they come out, it's electric. And so when I'm looking at this game, Michigan State with Mel Tucker, they have a lot to prove. Michigan State goes in and completely blows out Washington. I mean, it's just an absolute it's just destruction.
Listen, we're going to do this right here. The Brigade has 67% favoring Michigan State, and so will I. I've been a fan of Mel Tucker since he took the Michigan State job. Listen, this is going to be tough, right? Obviously, BetUS has Washington as a 2-point favorite here. I just think that Michigan State will pull this off. Now, also keep in mind our picks are not they're not indicative of the spread. So we're doing a straight pick 'em here. I think, like I said, Michigan State covers here, obviously outright, right? That's just my thought there. Next game, guys. Fresno State traveling to Southern Cal. I think it's going to be quite interesting there. Koby, who do you have winning that game?
I thought about this a lot, actually, which may surprise people, but Fresno State's quarterback used to be at UW, if I remember right, and he is a gunslinger. But at the end of the day, I mean, everybody watched USC and the offense they have, and I just think that there aren't that many teams out west that are going to be able to stop them. I mean, I think South Carolina. I think USC, Southern California, I think they win big.
Juan, what say you, sir?
It's going to be a good game. I actually saw USC play in person. Offensively, they are outstanding. They got Jordan Addison, who was the Biletnikoff winner last year. They got Caleb Williams, Mario Williams. They got a great slew of running backs, 3 great running backs. But then again, you got Fresno State, who they're playing some good football right now. They've got a chip on their shoulder. So I think this will be, a pretty good game. USC absolutely blows out Fresno State. I mean, just crushes.
Well, let's be honest here. I've got USC winning too. The spread is 12.5 USC favorites there. Brigade, 73% have USC taking it here. Listen, I just think offensively they're too much. Defensively, I feel like USC is a work in progress. They looked fine against Stanford, but Stanford still was able to move the ball very easily, in my opinion. And Fresno State is not a bad team. I'll let you know that right now. I just don't think that they can stop the offensive onslaught. It's just there's too many weapons on the SoCal team. Listen, the real USC right there, the Southern California Trojans, right? The real USC. Don't get it twisted. There's just too much. There's just too many weapons there. Caleb Williams is too good a quarterback to not sit there and lead them to victory, especially at home. So I've got USC rolling big as well. I think honestly, I think the 12.5 spread gets covered probably by at least 14. Let's just be honest there. I think this is interesting here. Game 3, BYU traveling to Oregon, right? BYU top 25 matchup. Koby, who do you got?
BYU burned me last week. Picked Baylor. BYU pulls it out in double overtime to beat the Bears. We've talked about first-year head coaches and their struggles and how Dan Lanning, got embarrassed week 1 against his former team in Atlanta. Games at Oregon, not sure the time. I think it might be 3:30, maybe, or a night game. But I just think Oregon, the Ducks, they show up. Bo Nix, he's still Bo Nix, but I think Oregon gets Dan Lanning his first statement win, upsets BYU.
I think that's a good take right there. I think that statement win can go a long way towards Dan Lanning and his coaching tenure. First off, well, let's just move on here. Juan, what do you got?
Well, a lot of people don't realize how good BYU is. Baylor is a top tier team, and for Baylor to drop this game to BYU means that BYU means business, right? So I see BYU going into Oregon. Oregon is still not going to get it together, and despite how I feel about Joel and this whole situation, I'm going to pick BYU.
Oh, so Rude's here. Asks, do Mormons eat duck? Asking for a friend. Joel says yes, they do. Right? Yes, they do. There's your make one laugh again moment of the day. And with that being said, listen, hearing this, right? The Brigade has this very interesting 85% have Oregon taking this at home. I think Oregon wins this. I think Oregon needs this a lot more than BYU needs this. Dan Lanning needs this a lot more than anyone needs it. Oregon 4-point favorites at home. I think they cover it by a touchdown. And listen, I understand, we've saw Bo Nix and everything like that, but listen, BYU is a great program. That Baylor win, listen, that is a big moment. I'm just saying. I just think somehow they find a way to win. They just do. So I have Oregon. I have Oregon covering the spread, close to covering this, like 7 points covering. Next game, Florida State and Louisville. Battle of two ACC teams here. Florida State. As we had some technical difficulties there.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. As I was saying, though, Florida State, Louisville, battle of two ACC programs. Florida State is looking really good so far. Week 1, Louisville had a rough outing against Syracuse, got blew out. And then they got back on the right track, beating UCF. Koby, who do you got?
This was one of the ones that probably to me is the toughest pick of the week. Louisville's so up and down. They look so bad week 1, and then they go down to UCF. They beat Gus Malzahn at home for the first time since he's taken over as head coach at UCF. I mean, John Rice Plumlee, that whole team down at UCF is just a solid team with a good offensive mind behind it. And then I just really don't know how to feel about Florida State either. They beat an LSU team, yes. But if you watch that game, all they had to do is take a knee, kick a field goal, and you don't even sweat it. But the coaching decision late in the game to run a pitch on the 2, fumble it, and what is going to always be overlooked is then in a minute and 20 seconds, they let LSU methodically march the ball all the way down the field and score a touchdown. It pains me to say that I think Florida State gets it done at Louisville, but it could be a toss-up. I mean, Louisville, it depends what Louisville team shows up.
Juan, what say you, sir?
I think it's Florida State. Florida State right now, they are, they're turning around. Norvell, has them playing at a high level. They had their opportunity on national TV to play a tough LSU team that everybody thought was going to be great. And I just think that they're just going to go ahead and just pick it up and continue their winning ways.
88% of the Brigade have.
I picked Louisville. My bad. Okay, well then I'm going to go. I'm going to go a little bit.
If this doesn't show you the toss-up, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So again, I'm going to go ahead and change that, and I'm going to go with Louisville. And you know what, though, to beat Gus Malzahn and UCF, that says a lot. Even though that they just kind of, had a bad first week. I'm going to go with my gut here with Louisville. I'm 15-5, and so I'm not ashamed of it.
So we've got a bold statement here. Backtrack slightly. Like, listen, it's a negative 1.5 favorite, right? Florida State is a 1.5 point favorite over Louisville. What that tells you, and what it just shows here, anybody can win that game. Anybody. And as we just saw, Juan, I'm gonna use you as your guinea pig here. It can happen, right? You could literally think 1 minute Florida State will win it, next thing you know, Louisville's got it. I'm just letting you know. So I'm no hard feelings there, Juan. It happens. I will say this: I've got Florida State winning this. I think it's a sloppy game, bad coaching decisions, but I think Florida State pulls it out. Listen, they have their experience in bad coaching moments. I'm just going to leave it there. Next game, NC State and Texas Tech. Texas Tech travels to NC State. Juan, who do you have? Or actually, we'll do Koby first. Still, keep it uniform here. Koby, who you got?
So I'm pretty sure I read Texas Tech's leading the country in passing offense per game right this second. So definitely makes them a tough opponent to bring into NC State. It's an NC State team that a lot of people were high on in the preseason. One of the favorites to win the ACC, one of the favorites to maybe be a dark horse for a playoff appearance. And through 2 weeks, we have just not seen that from them. I mean, we saw that they should have lost to ECU. We've seen, just not two great games. I think they kind of get it figured out this week. I think their veteran quarterback kind of brings them together. I think NC State beats Texas Tech.
Juan?
I'm going to go NC State, and a lot of it is heart. So, my very first year at 8-year-old football, I was on the NC State Wolfpack. So that's where I'm going to go, and that's the reason they're going to win. That's the only inspiration that they need.
Apparently, Ruth says that beard drips wisdom. It's not wrong. I'm just saying NC State in this game. 9.5-point favorites. Listen, Texas Tech ain't a bad team. I just think that NC State is also a different level of competition than Texas Tech. Listen, being up here, 76% of the brigade also believes that NC State will win. I think they cover by winning by 10. Just simple as that. Moving on, Oklahoma traveling to Lincoln, Nebraska. Scott Frost gets canned. So you have Mickey Joseph as an interim head coach. Let's just say this. It's going to be interesting. Who you got? Koby.
We're going to be short, sweet, to the point on this one. Oklahoma, big.
Juan.
Oklahoma, huge. I mean, it's going to be an absolute just blowout. Just complete blowout.
100% of the Brigadiers say Oklahoma. Listen, 13.5-point favorites. Yeah, slam the over on that spread. I'm just saying it's going to get ugly. There's no question about it. Let's just do this. Moving on. Mississippi State, LSU. Guy, Koby, who you got?
I actually think that I've told you this all week on who I have, and I actually think the more I've thought about it even today, I'm going to flip-flop on you. I think originally I told you I wanted LSU, picking LSU. I think Mississippi State's surprising a lot of people, including us, and where we had them on their on their preseason predictions in the West. I think Mississippi State wins this game. I think they just throw the ball too much for LSU. I think LSU struggled against Florida State defending the pass. I think Mississippi State gets it done. A little switch up. A little last one.
Yeah. Juan, what say you, sir?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mississippi State. Give me the Pirate. I love the coach there, Brian Kelly, and LSU. They're in a mess right now. They're blaming coaches and blaming players, and you know what? You got all that type of dissension in your program, and it just is a formula for disaster. So give me Mississippi State in this one.
I have Mississippi State as well. 2.5-point favorites over LSU. 60% of the brigade has Mississippi State as well. I think they cover by at least a field goal, probably 7 points. Next game. This will be interesting, folks. Penn State travels to Auburn and Jordan Hare. Boom. Koby, what say you, sir?
we've talked about this before. I was at the Whiteout last year. Auburn comes into town, big game, electric atmosphere, and Penn State's going to get a taste of their own medicine. They're going to come down to an SEC, school. It's going to be bumping, going to be at night. They're calling for an orange out. The whole thing's going to happen to Penn State. We talked about James Franklin struggling on the road. But I think Penn State finds a way to get it done. I watched Auburn play San Jose State and was, struggling at halftime and even in the second half. I just think Auburn doesn't have a quarterback. I just think Penn State gets it done on the road.
Juan, sir, what say you?
Well, just like Koby said, James Franklin's been struggling on the road. Penn State will get an opportunity to see what it's like to play at an SEC stadium at night. There's nothing like seeing that eagle fly around that stadium. I mean, it's electric. It's probably one of the loudest and craziest places that I've ever played. And, with that being said, with that crowd noise and that electricity, Penn State comes in and just blows out Auburn. I mean, Auburn's just going to get absolutely bombed. It's going to be bad.
You're hurting my feelings, Juan. Psych. Listen, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a stat here, guys. Since James Franklin took over at Penn State, he's been the epitome of what they call now mid on the road, 19-18. Jordan Hare is built on a voodoo graveyard. I don't care what anyone tells me. The Brigade has Penn State overwhelmingly at 70%. Give me Auburn in this game. It would not surprise me to see Auburn and have Penn State succumb to what is known as the voodoo graveyard, known as Jordan Hare. I'm just letting you know. Listen, this game last year also was played close, if you don't remember. Controversial targeting call at the goal line, things like that. Listen, I'm just saying, Penn State James Franklin on the road. He's even as he was a Vanderbilt head coach, never played at Jordan Hare. On the road, we know it's going to be hostile. This is probably the one game that they've been looking forward to the most. We know good and damn well they're not ready to see Georgia or Alabama for that matter. Listen, I think it's crazy here to say this, but I've got them in a huge upset by a field goal. I think it's going to be a field goal that's going to win the game for them. Give me Auburn. Ninth game, Miami traveling to College Station and that laughing stock of a program. Koby, what say you, sir?
A week ago, this would have been a tough game to pick. I think it's at College Station. It's hard to play there. It's one of the biggest stadiums in the country. But, and Miami has looked iffy at times, if you will. I mean, they scored 27 unanswered to beat Southern Miss after struggling early. But, if there's one thing I know about, and Juan, you'll know it too. If there's one thing I know about a locker room, a team, and you see it happen when we beat Kentucky and then they lose 2 more games the next 2 weeks, or when we beat Arkansas and then they drop another game later. When you've built your team up so high on these aspirations of where we're going and how good we are, and all of a sudden to just pull that out from underneath them with a loss to an App State at home, you've just deflated the whole locker room this week. At practice, people are arguing. They're not agreeing. They're wondering who's calling plays. Are they calling the right plays? I have Miami beating Texas A&M at Texas A&M this week.
Juan, what about you, sir? Apparently, there's a theme here. You like blowouts. We'll see what happens here.
It's not going to be a blowout. It'll be a lot closer. Texas A&M doesn't have a quarterback. I mean, they just don't. They don't have an established quarterback. They don't have an established leader. They got a lot of 5 stars, but they don't have an established leader. Jimbo Fisher is not a leader. Now, Miami is an absolute trash program. I mean, they're just absolute trash. However, they are just a little bit classier trash than I would say that what's going on at Texas A&M. Give me Miami over Texas A&M.
Miami over Texas A&M. Juan, it happened again, sir. It happened again. If I'm not mistaken, you had picked A&M. However, I'll take Miami as well. The reason is this: Miami has a somewhat modern offense, folks. Jimbo has never changed since 2014. That offense in that year has not changed, and we are seeing it unfold with a terrible quarterback situation in College Station. Miami is actually an underdog here. A&M is a 6-point home favorite over Miami. Give me Miami outright. 54% of the brigade thinks Miami will win. Listen, I know Miami hasn't necessarily played anybody like that, but they also haven't lost to App State. And while App State is a good opponent, I just don't like the fact that A&M doesn't have their quarterback situated. That's a terrible disaster waiting to happen.
Well, I'll stick with A&M. I'll stick with A&M. I mean, that's just the right thing to do. I mean, I made a poor choice, poor decision. I'll stick with them.
Okay, so we're sticking with the Aggies. Moving on to the game of the week, Georgia traveling to Columbia to take on the Gamecocks of South Carolina.
I think we're rolling there. Obviously, we're the better team. It's like we talked about with Oregon. You line us up at every position, every player, we're better. It's going to be a blowout. You take care of the ball. Don't make any stupid mistakes, dumb penalties early. You're going to go up a couple scores. It wouldn't surprise me to have the whole slew of backups in by the fourth quarter in Columbia this week.
Interesting. So Koby threw out a 38-7 score prediction. Is that what you're confirming?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure here, folks. Juan, what say you, sir?
Well, first off, I gotta give a shout out to my man Patrick. He said I can invoke the GOAT clause and change picks as much as I want right before kickoff. My man. I appreciate that. That's good looking out. Obviously, I've got Georgia. I mean, absolutely hammering South Carolina. Maybe South Carolina gets a field goal. I don't remember what my score prediction was. 45-10. They may get a late touchdown. South Carolina, they do have some pretty good wide receivers that may slip up. They may slip up and get a touchdown here or there. But I absolutely have them getting absolutely hammered. Go Dogs.
Well, that leaves myself here. 93% of the brigade have Georgia winning this. Easy, 48-6, and that 6 is not a touchdown. That is 2 field goals, folks. 2 field goals. Georgia will keep them out of the end zone. Juan is laughing as we speak.
My man landed. He said dogs by 90. That's what I'm talking about. Dogs by 90.
Listen, he even won. He took 2. He 2-upped the 63-3 DGD. Woo! Good Lord.
That's what I'm talking about.
Listen, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Georgia rolls, folks. Rolls. The offensive line deficiency against South Carolina will bite them in the ass way too many times. Georgia will also run the ball. Bold prediction, Kendall Milton, 2 rushing touchdowns. He'll have it, and he'll rush for over 100 yards. Listen, the spread on this is 24.5. It opened up. BetUS has it at 24.5 point favorite here. Easy. I think you could slam the spread if you want to. Not enough for the DGD lock. I think there's other games for that that you could hit on that, right? I think Oklahoma, Nebraska would probably be my lock. There's no question about that. But I got Georgia covering this, and I don't even think it's even close. I think Georgia will methodically run the ball down or run the offense and score early, often, and get that crowd out of it immediately. Get it out, and I think you see Georgia cover the spread. Now, with that being said, those are our games or picks for the week. Koby, Juan, I'm leaving it here. Any final takeaways before we see our dogs walk out in Columbia Saturday?
Nope. Go dogs. This would be a big win.
Yep. You're either elite or you're not. You're either elite or you're not.
And you don't even have to be that this week to beat South Carolina. You just got to be there.
It's bow time, folks. There's a game called PUBG. If you win the game, it literally says winner, winner, chicken dinner. Georgia will see the winning PUBG graphic. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. That's going to be the hashtag all the way up until Saturday. You'll see that on anything I post, socially watch. With that being said, dogs rolling big. Let's tune in Saturday, ESPN at noon, Columbia. If you're going there, listen. If you're going there, hope you have a great time. Make sure to stop by Bojangles. Listen, this is just me being a Bojangles fan. There's a Bojangles right there at the stadium. I suggest you go take a look at it. Listen, I love some Bojangles. Whew. But with that being said, Juan, Koby, as always, it was a pleasure having you on the show. Guys, have a great week. We'll catch you back here Monday for the South Carolina review. Have a great day and go dogs.